And for Off the Block, I'm Vanny Lopes, and we are now joined by Princeton men's volleyball head coach Sam Shweisky as his team prepares for the big Ivy League rivalry match against Harvard. And Coach, it's a big conference match against a big Ivy League rival. Can you talk a little bit about this match and what you're expecting from it?
Yeah, I think I'll just start by saying what an exciting rivalry it is. I think it starts with our two schools. I think Princeton and Harvard are just naturally competitive, from admissions to our endowment to financial aid to recruiting, and it's really across all sports. So there's this energy of Princeton Harvard, which is pretty cool in the Ivy League context when you've got Harvard, Princeton, Dartmouth, Brown, Cornell, all these teams. But in the EIVA, it's just us and Harvard, and so that's a pretty cool thing. So there's a special energy sort of leading up to this match. But then you go further, and we've got so many storylines. Like we all recruit the same kids, so many of these guys have played high school and club with each other. So you got Will Soroki and Nick Bendel played high school together. Tony Ensberry played Americosta with DJ and Casey White. Casey White played MB Surf with Chris Kennedy. Now you have Kendall Ratter and Brad Gretsch played at Coast together. So we have six pairs of guys that all played together. So that's a pretty cool storyline. And then Brian Bays himself played at Princeton in '95 and was part of a pretty prolific, mid-'90s group that really set the stage for Princeton's '98 Final Four win. So that's pretty cool. Glenn Nelson, the amazing coach that coached Princeton for 30 years, he may not make the Penn State match every year. He always comes to the Princeton match, and so he's here to heckle Brian and to hang out. And he usually comes, and I think this year again with Jason Morrow, class of 2000. Who sent Princeton to the '98 Final Four, who went to high school with Brian Bays, and Brian Bays actually convinced Morrow to look at Princeton. So just some really cool, connections and sort of depth to the story and the rivalry. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. We love playing against them because it's apples to apples, and it's they are brother from up north, and so it's going to be an exciting match, and we can't wait for it.
Yeah, and Coach, definitely a lot of respect going both ways on both sides of the net, but it seems like in the last couple of years, this rivalry has just intensified, at least from the outside. Do you have that same feeling on the inside, that it's intensified not only on the court, but just in the recruiting battles as well?
Yeah, I think recruiting across men's volleyball has increased. When I got into the league, when I left women's volleyball 6 years ago, and I got to men's volleyball seemed a lot more relaxed, certainly on the timeline and a lot of different ways in terms of recruiting as compared to women's volleyball. And the last 6 years, it's definitely increased. And I think certainly for schools like Princeton and Harvard that have a smaller pool of guys, we're not looking at 200 guys. We're looking at a small set of, maybe 30, maybe 35, 40 guys, but when all said and done, and that's between the two schools. And so, yeah, I think it's gotten pretty competitive. And, credit to Brian. He's done a tremendous job with Harvard in the last 6-7 years since he's been there, building them up and making them a really strong team. And so I think, the competition is fun, and it's been good for us. It's certainly made us both better, and it's been great for the league. I think before we both got here, I don't know that in Princeton and Harvard we're consistently in the EIVA Final Four, and we've both been able to do that the last several years. So that's been pretty cool. A couple of years ago, Brian and I, we each chipped in and we bought a small trophy, an Ivy League champion trophy, and that's been a really fun sort of addition. We put it on the scorer's table before each match, and the winning team takes it home, and then it sits in that coach's office until the next match, and it goes back up on the table. So that's just been a fun thing to add to the rivalry, and it's cool. I think college sports, you need rivalries, you need storylines, you need stuff for sideline reporters and off-the-block personnel to talk about and pontificate on and stuff like that. So, we're happy to be a part of it, but it's with the utmost respect for their institution and their staff and the job they've done, and we can't wait to play.
Looking at this season kind of as a whole, the EIVA had some struggles in non-conference play, but you guys were one of the bright spots, getting a couple of victories against MPSF schools. What were you able to take away from those two West Coast road trips that you had to start your season?
Well, we were really fortunate. We typically go to California once a year at the end of January during our intersession break and play a couple MPSF teams. But to be invited to the Santa Barbara tournament and to get to go out there and to play 6 MPSF matches, our first 6 matches being MPSF schools, was just fantastic. We are trying to push the tempo and the speed and really the savvy at which we play. And so to go out there and play, not only high caliber schools, but different styles. A lot of those schools play a fast style of volleyball, but they're all great in different ways. And so it was great for us. And we came back from each match with different notes and ways to come back and train harder. And so it did us a ton of good. And we're really appreciative of that opportunity.
Yeah. Coach, it seems like a lot of focus is being paid attention to Cody Kessel. He continues to put up big numbers. But with that being said, how important is it for other players like Ratner to have big performances when so much attention is being paid to Kessel?
I think it's huge. I think, having an outstanding player is great. Having balance is better. And so as good as Cody is, and he's fantastic, to see Ratner come out of the gates and play well so early on in his freshman year and acclimate pretty quickly to the speed and the size of the college game and really change some of his offense. There's some shots that score in high school and club that you get to college and they don't score, and it takes different players different amounts of time to figure that out. And really after the first few weeks of training in the fall, he started to realize that, what shots we're going to score in the college gym. And so really pleased with him, and I think it's going to give us some really nice balance as we work to fill the shoes of Pat Schweisky, who's not here anymore, with Ratner and spreading the ball around a little bit more and having a more diverse offense.
Yeah. And Coach, what's going to be the one key for victory for your team if you guys are to walk away with a win against Harvard on Friday?
Well, I think, this is a key for Harvard, but it's really a key for all of men's volleyball, if not all of volleyball, and that's serve and pass. And I think you'll hear coaches say that ad nauseum, and I think it really is true. They've got some very strong middles. Caleb Simic is dynamite, and Brad Gretsch is a wonderful recruit, very strong in the middle. I think he's going to continue to get better. And so, if we don't serve tough enough and they're in system, they're going to be tough to stop. The other thing, Nick Bendel and Marco run a very fast, the Harvard style is a very fast offense. Both White brothers run extremely fast to the pin, and they're very hard to stop when they're in system. So, we hope to serve tough and to knock them off the net a little bit, to be a little bit out of system where I think hopefully our block can do a better job containing them. And then conversely, on the reception side, we need to pass the ball. I was really pleased how we passed the other night against NJIT, and it gave us a chance to run our offense. And I think we can be successful offensively if we can get Kennedy the ball in a good spot and be able to run the offense.
Yeah. All right, Coach, and we've spent a lot of this segment talking about Harvard-Princeton, so I only think it's fitting if I were to ask you a couple rapid-fire questions of various Harvard-Princeton things, and you can just tell me which one's better, if you're good with that.
All right, I don't know. I'm contractually obligated to really, push for Princeton here, so we'll see how it goes.
Of course. All right, we'll get started. The current Princeton women's basketball team or Jeremy Lin? Who's better?
Oh, you got to go the current women's basketball team at Princeton. We're on the tear right now. Courtney Banghart's doing an amazing job. I got to give it up for the Lady Tigers doing a great job.
All right, who do you take in squash, Princeton or Harvard?
You got to go Princeton. We have an amazing squash history and just the lineage that's gone here. Both men's and women's squash programs are outstanding, so I got to go Princeton. All
right, moving over to presidents, we have Woodrow Wilson representing Princeton, and then John Quincy Adams representing Harvard. Who do you have as the better president?
I think it's cut and dry, Woodrow Wilson. I don't want to go too much into the public policy, but I think it's a pretty clear shot.
All right, and then actors, we have Jimmy Stewart representing Princeton and Tommy Lee Jones representing Harvard.
That's a tough one. That one, contractually I'm obligated, but, Tommy Lee Jones is pretty great, so I may have to call it a wash on that one.
All right, and then finally, we'll do movies on the schools. We have representing Princeton, administration or admission with Tina Fey, and then representing Harvard, Legally Blonde. Which one do you guys is a better movie?
Well, it's interesting to bring those two up. I was gonna go with Beautiful Mind.
Oh, there.
And Facebook.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Those are the two that jump to my mind. And I think if you're into the sort of hip, fun, Facebook movie, that might be cool. But A Beautiful Mind, just a great performance by Russell Crowe, Ed Harris, real mind bender. I recommend that to any movie fans out there. A Beautiful Mind takes place in Princeton. John Nash is just a prolific figure here, so I'm giving Princeton a nod on that. And then Tina Fey, that's another great movie as well. Accepted. Our head, I think she's the head of admissions, Janet Rappelby, actually had a small cameo in that. Was kind of cool and shot on the Princeton campus. So got to go Princeton on that one.